All right, and we have also present Mary Ann Shirley. Who do you appear for, please?
Judge, she's my rebuttal witness or a
Oh,
witness
she's your witness.
in this matter.
Okay. And
Carla
we have,
Daniel is a potential witness for the respondent as granddaughter of respondent.
go ahead and name up in the courthouse, if you would, for me, who that list of potential witnesses might be. I'll go ahead and take them now. Is there an attorney there that can just address each one of them individually if you know who they are? Those are your witnesses, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor. I've got both of the respondent's children. He's got two kids. They're both here. I've got Arnold Thomas, and then the other son, Richard Thomas. I've got Mr. Thomas's wife, Annette Thomas. I'm going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves. I've got three other potential witnesses, Your Honor. They're longtime friends and current landowners, or I'm sorry, tenants of the farms we're talking about here today that are subject to this matter. So I'll let them introduce themselves since I don't have their last names written down.
Okay.
Good evening. My cousin,
What was the name?
Chris
You
Kenny.
guys want to come up here and announce your name to the court up front?
Yeah, if you'll just come up one at a time real quickly, just stand in line.
Right there.
Tell me your name and your relationship to the case or the respondent.
Chris Caniglia, I'm a cousin.
How do you spell that last name?
Caniglia.
You're a cousin to,
Richard and Arnold Thomas.
all right, and potential witness for which party? For them?
For them, yes.
Okay, next, please, if you'll just step aside and let the next person announce who he is and connection to the case.
I'm Doug Jones. I'm a tenant.
Doug Jones,
Yes.
tenant of,
The Rex Thomas land.
okay. That'll
I've
work.
rented it for 15 years or more.
Okay, thank you. And if you'll step aside and next, please.
My name is Daryl Donahue. That's DARYLDONOHUE, and I'm a neighbor.
Neighbor to whom?
Neighbor to Richard Thomas and at one time Rex as well.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Those are the witnesses, Your Honor, for the petitioner.
Okay,
I'm gonna check one thing. I'll be right back.
all right, thank you, Mr. Bauer. Any other witnesses that are appearing that I haven't addressed? Mr. McClellan, oh, excuse me just a moment.
Ours would be Carla McDaniel,
And she's there at the courthouse.
and she is the power of attorney for health and finance for Mr. Thomas.
She is appearing via Zoom. Judge.
Oh, I see. She is in a separate. Okay.
Yeah, I apologize, Judge.
I'm sorry. I was seeing a lady there at the courthouse who's already identified, I believe. Okay, and Ms. Shirley's here strictly as a witness. You don't have a client in this, or do you, Ms. Shirley?
Mr. Rex Thomas was my client.
Okay.
And I believe the record should reflect, I don't believe that Carla McDaniel is related to Rex Thomas at all. I think that
I didn't say that. I said she was the power of attorney.
no, somebody said she was the granddaughter. That
Yeah,
is
sure,
in
you're correct. I misspoke. She is a step granddaughter. I misspoke. I do apologize for that.
Okay, but the lady at the courthouse I'm seeing is the wife, is that right?
And then also, Your Honor, just so the record is clear, if the court, Mr. Arnold Thomas's wife is also here in the court, but I don't know if you saw her over there as well, but she's
I did not.
here. I don't anticipate her being a witness though.
Okay. Well, I don't know which one I'm seeing. The one I'm seeing has kind of a black jacket and a red flowered skirt. Which one is that? Is that Miss?
That's Annette Thomas,
That's Annette Thomas, okay.
petitioner's wife, and she could be a potential witness as well.
Okay, all righty then. We are here on the petition. Mr. Simmons, I believe you brought the petition today. Is that correct?
Yes, and I could give the court kind of a status on where this might be at, kind of give the court an overview to see where, what we need to do today. I do have my witnesses ready to go, as the court can tell.
Okay, yes.
But Your Honor, what I would point out on this is we have asked that an exam and evaluation pursuant to 59-30146 be completed. I believe the guardian ad litem has attempted to get that arranged for Mr. Thomas. However, there's a substantial waiting period for Mr. Thomas to go back to see the previous neurologist that he had seen before. The biggest issue today, Your Honor, I believe there is probable cause of an immediate or imminent harm to this man's estate and what is going on here. There's since we filed this, now they're transferring property, like significant amounts of property, and trying to sell it, and even trying to auction millions of dollars worth of property next week. And I believe they might have tried to sell it like 2 days ago even. So there's some real concerns here that we have, and I think the court can order. And I think what originally we were going to do is set this out. And I think what we would ask for, what would be appropriate, is to set this out to get the evaluation, so the court has the benefit of that evaluation, an updated evaluation, to figure out what's going on here. And in the meantime, just prevent Mr. Thomas or anyone on his behalf, apparently Ms. McDaniel, anyone on his behalf trying to sell however almost 1,000 acres here or auction this property. So the court has the authority to do it. The court can do that. I believe that's what's appropriate. I believe they're taking action that's contrary to what he's wanted to do his entire life, contrary to what he's prepared to do in his prenuptial agreement, last will and testament. They're trying to transfer all this property in violation of that, Your Honor. And so what we would like to do until the court has the benefit of that exam is to prevent anyone from selling, transferring, or disposing of this property. And I know they've already done it with some, because I saw it was transferred to a trust just a few weeks ago, maybe not even 2 months ago. And there's also an active DCF investigation for elder abuse going on here too. So I think there's some things that the court needs to understand of what's going on in this situation. And so we're happy to present evidence. We've got lots of people who are also very concerned about this situation, as you can tell. We've got a rebuttal witness, which is a previous attorney for Mr. Thomas, that I think would provide the court a lot of light about what's going on here. But everyone in this courtroom is very concerned about what they're saying, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, can I give a similar summary? Because I do think
Yes, I
we ought to
would-
bring some focus to all of this.
I would ask you to do so.
We have sent to all of the council and the court exhibits A through D. A is the power of attorney. B is a updated assessment of Mr. Thomas, finding him to have cognitive ability, and it was done this week.
Is
Three-
that the one, I think, 1 or 2 page document? Was that
Yes.
the-
That's correct.
Who did that? It wasn't Dr. Basham, was it? It was someone else? Or was it not the one from Dr. Basham? I
I
thought
think
that
it was arranged through his office.
Okay,
And then 3, we have the prenuptial agreement, and we have the updated trust. Our firm has been working with Mr. Thomas and his wife and his power of attorney with regard to an estate plan since last fall. I think it's very important to note that the prenuptial agreement expressly provides for the right of Mr. Thomas and his wife to engage in a different estate plan. So I don't believe that the petitioner or his children have any legal standing to enforce or claim that the prenuptial agreement gives them any present rights. The trust specifically grants to each son 30% of the combined estates. So they would get 60% of the estate under that trust. There's nothing nefarious or underhanded in transferring into a trust with the hope of trying to avoid probate proceedings. So they may not like it because it is a change, but the new guardianship statute is very focused on being sure that the respondent has a voice. His voice is to be heard, and he made a decision to appoint a power of attorney last year to assist in that process. And so unless they are establishing that there is something untoward about something done 6 months ago to avoid probate, and Mr. Thomas has had a separate attorney walking him through what his options were, and Mr. Thomas, made the choices as to what he felt he should sell now as opposed to what he should retain. He didn't cut out his sons. He merely realigned his estate as the prenuptial allowed him to do. And it's my belief that what the petitioner and the tenants all want to do, and yes, this is an older gentleman, but to his credit, he has recognized he needs help. That's why he's asked for a power of attorney. Put one in place. And unless they can show that the power of attorney is somehow untoward, I don't believe that we have no evidence that he's impaired. All we have is allegations. And I do not believe that the court should be engaging in effect, realigning this estate to accommodate the sons and the tenants, as opposed to the rights and decisions of Rex Thomas.
And you represent Rex Thomas?
Yes, our firm has been doing the estate planning.
Okay.
And just a-
And then guardian ad
I-
litem? Oh, okay, at the courthouse, go ahead, please.
I was just gonna say, I had not seen any of those reports that you just referenced. And I think there was one other thing I would clarify. Only one small fraction of the property was placed in the trust. Isn't that correct, sir? Didn't the rest of it get auctioned and set for auction next week?
But any of those proceeds would be going into the accounts in Rex Thomas's name, would be subject to the trust terms. So to me, I realize it's shifting from farm ground to cash, but I believe Rex Thomas has that ability to do.
So who at this time is in charge of Rex Thomas's dealings? Is it Rex Thomas himself or is it one of his wife's?
It's his wife, granddaughter, Carla McDaniel. But I met with him in preparation for this. Clearly, they are trying to be sure he is involved in those decision making.
All right, and Mr. Simons, your position, you pretty well already stated. Anything else? Were you going to offer something in response to what Mr. Bauer just stated? Did I hear you start to comment on that?
Well, I guess we can get Ms. Shirley's opinion, because I think that, he talks about 6 months ago, I believe Mr. Thomas, this hasn't been his intent for his whole 95 years, and it sounds like somebody else is running the show. So it sounds like he does need a guardian and conservatorship. That sounds exactly like what it sounds like we need. But maybe Ms. Shirley has some thoughts on this.
Well, and I think that's the big fallacy of their position.
All right, before we
If-
proceed to
yeah.
start calling witnesses, Mr. McClendon, you're appointed to represent Mr. Rex Thomas in this as guardian ad litem, I believe.
Yes, Your Honor, I am. And so I've met with Mr. Thomas for about an hour, hour 15 so far. I want to continue meeting with him, but in doing my investigation, I was able to talk to Ms. Shirley, and probably last August, roughly right before Mr. Matthews or whoever from that particular firm was engaged in the estate planning, Ms. Shirley was approached by Mr. Thomas himself. And that was, and I'm sorry if I'm testifying here, but,
Well, you can make me a proffer.
saying hearsay, but I'm proffering, that it was not Mr. Thomas's intent at that time with his power of attorney to have his granddaughter be full financial POA. And additionally, at the time, he was wanting his sons to potentially be power of attorney for some parts of it, and in which there was whatever you may call it, but there was some contention in regarding that. And Miss Shirley had to decline, and I won't go into the full details, but essentially it was not Mr. Thomas's intent at that time to transfer property the way it's being transferred now. And now here we are today, with a new power of attorney. That was not what was being relayed to Miss Shirley, and additional property transfers. And I have a serious concern about duress and undue influence that's impacting Mr. Thomas's decision making, if he is making those decisions himself. So that's my biggest concern, Your Honor. In regards to Exhibit B that's being proffered by Mr. Bauer, I've never seen anything like that, and it has no, medical backing tied to it. So I don't, it may have been done by somebody from Dr. Basham's office, but at this time, I don't see it as having any weight in this particular instance. And additionally, Your Honor, I don't feel comfortable proceeding without having him properly evaluated. I have a new list here today. I was waiting for today's hearing to end, and I'm going to contact people on that list to see if I can get some strings pulled or something to try to get him in sooner, because I do understand the imminence of this factor, because Mr. Thomas is 95, but however, and I do think I think he is fairly sound, but in my investigation, I became overly concerned about the possibility of duress and undue influence. So I want to make sure we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's before we just proceed with any sales of land. Because I do think, as kind of being stated by Mr. Simmons, this could be an attempt by his power of attorney to circumvent the prenuptial agreement that is in place.
Okay, so what is your request today? You're requesting a continuance to get a more thorough mental examination? Or
Yeah, I want to get him by mentally evaluated by a doctor for competency and cognitive impairment, because I believe at one point as well, I saw in some report that he was diagnosed with some mild cognitive impairment. I don't want, I don't know if that's, continued to form to a full-on cognitive impairment or what it may be, but or if it's recovered some. But I want to make sure we're giving Mr. Thomas his voice in this. I at the end of the day, if I have I'll put it this way, if I have a cognitive test that shows he's fully capable and fully grasps the depth of this situation, I have no issue with not putting a guardianship over him. Now I think he will be fully capable of making those decisions, but my concern is right now, um, I'm not sure he fully grasps what quite's going on, Your Honor.
May I inquire, have you visited with or talked to the current holder of the power of attorney for Mr. Thomas?
I have not yet.
Okay, just so okay.
and is that something you'd like to do as well, Mr. McClendon, have time for?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you haven't had a chance to talk to some of these witnesses that are lined up, many of them?
I'll be honest, the only two people, however many it may be, but I've talked to Mr. Thomas himself. I've talked to his wife some, and I've talked to his neurological provider, his prior neurological provider, but they're not able to get him in until January. So I was going to find a new provider for him, or see if we can get some strings pulled with Dr. Basham's office to get him in sooner.
And then did you say you have talked to Mary Ann Shirley? Or
I
no?
have talked to Miss Shirley in regards to this.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so let me see if, and I would like to hear from Miss Shirley, but is there any objection if she weighs in, or would there be an objection that she wait and testify at the evidentiary hearing if we get to that point?
No objection, Your Honor.
Mr. Bauer, any objection?
I don't.
All right, Miss Shirley, do you want to weigh in on any of this at this point, just as an officer of the court?
when Mr. Thomas contacted me, it's July or August, I went through everything he needed to do. I explained wills, I explained trusts. At that time, they had Mrs. Thomas' daughter, Mickey Potter, was a medical power of attorney. They wanted that to remain, but there was an insurance company that I had referred them because they needed home services. I had referred them to home health, and there was an issue with regard to payment. And they wanted to know, or they wanted Mickey to be able to talk to the insurance company, and the insurance company wouldn't talk to them without um, financial power of attorney in place. It was Alliance Incorporated or something, and they are the holders of the policy for the long-term care. So Rex had wanted Miss Potter to have a limited power of attorney to address the issues with the insurance company. I met with them.
I'm sorry, excuse me, who wanted that?
Rex did, and Tina. Christina is Mr. Thomas's wife. Miss
Okay,
Clark,
wife
that's
and, okay,
at that time, that was all they wanted. There was some confusion in his thought process and in Tina's. So I met with them again when Miss Potter was present. Also, Mrs. Thomas's son, Mr. Gooch, was also present. They then set up, because Rex could not make a decision about what specifically he wanted done with regard to wills and trusts and that sort of thing. I wouldn't do anything until I had just a basic, was he competent? And Dr. Basham's office did provide that to me at that time. Then I went back and met with all of them, with Miss McDaniel. Miss Potter was an hour late, Mr. Thomas, and his wife. At that time, they said they wanted the power of attorney done, and I looked at Mr. Thomas and I said, Rex, who do you want to be your power of attorney financially? And he said, Richard, my son. His wife started screaming. Miss Potter started screeching. It was horrible. And he basically sank back in his wheelchair, looked at the ground, and wouldn't make any additional comments. So Miss McDaniel had left the room, and it was out of control. It was horrible. So I left. And then I met with him alone. A few days later, Mr. Gooch was present as a witness. I wouldn't go without a witness. And I asked him about these things again. He had not yet made a decision with regard to the will or the trust, and I've made the determination. I tried to make him understand the difference. I'm not sure he fully understood. But I asked him again, and he said, Mickey can do the part that's Mrs. Thomas's daughter. She can be the power of attorney to deal with the insurance company, which is what he originally asked me to do. So I drew it up, and he said, but I do not. I said, well, what about the general financial power of attorney? You've got these bank accounts. I know you don't have much income financially, but you have a significant amount of land. And he said, no, I want my son, Richard, to handle the financial part. He said, I do not want Tina's family because I have already donated enough to them over the years. So I drew it up that way. The next thing I knew, I got a letter from the attorneys that I had been fired. And I did, in fact, make the report, or suggest the report to DCF. From what I observed, it was horrible, Your Honor.
all right, so this mini mental state examination, patient's name, Thomas, Rex, dated 4/7/26. Is that the one you were saying that you kind of instigated that?
No, Your Honor, I done back in August.
Okay, so I don't have what you got in August. Did you get a report back?
Yes, I did, but I don't know that, I think it was in, I think that Mickey took it, Mrs. Thomas's daughter, I believe has it.
But
I
didn't you
believe
say
she-
it indicated that he was cognitively able to make decisions?
He had, with some reservations, he had areas where he was not, but let me see if I can find it.
I believe.
Okay, it says the
it-
patient's
Hold on.
family requested it. He lives at home. Daughter assist, which is not correct. And he had medical. He had mild cognitive impairment at that time, and that is dated August 29th of 2025.
I
And then
believe
the-
that.
I would just
Okay.
note that on the report, it also indicates that he couldn't place the clock hands on a clock.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. McClendon, you haven't had a chance to see that evaluation from August of 25, or have you?
I have seen it, Your Honor.
I may have seen it, but I don't.
I believe
recall.
it may have been included with Exhibit A.
Okay.
It
I'll
starts
look at
about
that.
page 5 on Exhibit A, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll review that then. And I do remember it was about in October that these power of attorney, durable power of attorney were signed. Now, who prepared these documents?
And Your
Is
Honor,
it-
I'm sitting here now with the very awkward position that unfortunately, I think Mr. Garrison Matthews becomes a witness. And he can kind of do the same process that Miss Shirley did of the process they went through, if that is acceptable to the parties.
Okay, it's Garrison Matthews, and so you're with,
But he's with Martin Pringle,
Okay,
not here on
okay.
River Acts, and I don't want to do anything unethical of having
right.
he can report as an officer of the court, but if we're having a hearing, we obviously have a problem.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out where we go next. I want to make sure I understand. We're here because one of the family members, the Rex Thomas's children, I believe it was, wanted an appointment of a guardianship, thinking father needed it. He had, but at the time he already has powers of attorney, one for health and one for other matters.
That's correct.
And let's see, there's some concern for urgency because the wife and her children slash powers of attorney want to sell some property right away next week. And Rex Thomas's sons are afraid that they're basically circumventing father's will.
Oh, no,
And
I think they're circumventing the prenuptial agreement.
prenuptial agreement. Well,
Carry on,
and they made some
Your
reference to the
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
So that's one of the issues. It seems like it ties into, we've got several issues at hand here. What is Rex Thomas's mental state? Is he able to make his own decisions? Is he able to revoke the power of attorney? Does he have the mental capacity to do that? So the one issue is, what is his mental state? The other is he being elderly abused? Are we having abuse of the elderly? DCF is looking into that. We don't probably have any idea when their report would be. And then, of course, there's the issue, are the powers of attorney such that we don't need to go down these other courses, such as guardian conservatorship and so forth.
And Your Honor, I'm going to be very, let's get to the bottom line. I think with
Okay.
the uncertainties, I think the proper process was followed and as being followed by the power of attorney. But there isn't, obviously, we're not going to necessarily get a decision. We should pause the auction, continue this hearing. Unfortunately, we age. It may get worse, so I can't say what it was. We have to look at what was the time when he signed it, et cetera. So, I mean, we've got a lot of, got bookends of before and after. And I realize that, but I think under the circumstances, and I know that it will be not ideal, but I think we should pause the auction, get a new hearing date where we see if we can get an evaluation that is, and again, trying to figure out somebody to look back at the time he signed the power of attorney.
Well, and maybe that's what that,
One thing I can clearly say, I do know from the process that Garrison Matthews met with Rex Thomas individually, not with his wife present.
okay, and you met with him but yours was October, Mr. Matthews?
Yes, met with him in October, some with the family, some without. Similarly, had a delay he had a delay in deciding what his long-term estate planning wanted to be. So in October, focused on the powers of attorney, then circled back after he had had more time to think on his own about the rest of the estate plan, and completed that about I don't know, a month or two ago.
So he,
Mr. Bauer, did you sell? Oh, sorry, Your Honor.
what has he done? What did he do then a few months ago? Has he taken any legal action since, you said a few months ago? What did he do then?
2 months ago, I'm sorry, I have it here in front of me now. On February 6th, we completed the estate plan. At that time, he told me of his intention to transfer one of his parcels of his land into his trust, which is reflected, and his intention to sell the remaining pieces of his property. So that was his intention in February, as he told me.
And I think somewhere maybe in the petition that there was that he had some confusion as to whether he needed to sell the land or he didn't. I think that's gonna be one of the issues that's in contention right now as to the issue of influence. Was he being led to believe that he had to sell it and he didn't want to? Was he being made to sell it? That sounds like that's going to be one of the bigger issues of the next hearing to have to be settled. Well, folks, I appreciate all the time and effort you've put into getting here today. I've got this stack of documents, potential exhibits. I've heard the proffered potential testimony, I think, for both issues, both sides. And that's consistent with what I've seen in some of the pleadings as well. But I think I'm going to rule as Mr. Bauer suggested. I think the rest of you probably are going to request as well, is that we put a stay on the sale of that any more land. We need to stay that. Is he in financial straits? Is his care not being taken because he doesn't have the money? Does anybody have an answer for that?
Ms. McDaniel, does he have cash flow to be able to be sure he's taken care of? Because the statute specifically allows some arrangement if there's not enough money to pay for his care.
Yes, he does have enough money to take care of his care.
Okay.
All right. And Mr. Simons, you indicated you might want to say something on that or not?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna confirm with Ms. McDaniel. So last we knew he had $100,000 in the bank account or something like that. So it didn't make any sense. The other thing, Your Honor, was there property that was attempted to be sold 2 days ago? Because my clients believe that they might have tried to sell something just 2 days ago. So not only stay any sale of any auction, but anything that they might have tried to, like, any other dispositions of property, just like the court said. I guess that was my other question, is what was going on.
Ms. McDaniel, is there any other sales other than the auction?
He did meet, oh, go ahead.
Carla, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. He did meet with the auctioneer from L2 Realty. I believe it was last Sunday, and he actually had an offer for a piece of land that he went over with grandfather. I think I put it in my timeline. Let me look. The offer was for a local buyer for 119 acres at $3,250 an acre. So that was the offer he was given. Grandfather made the decision that this is something he wanted to do and move forward with. So I believe the closing date for that was set for the 30th of this month.
Well, I'm ordering a stay on that close because we're not even, you said
Okay.
grandfather made the decision to sell. But part of the big issue here is, did he have the capacity to knowingly make that sale? That's why Mr. McClendon,
Your Honor,
ahead.
I know, I understand. And, I did let the auctioneer know that this proceeding was going on and that there could potentially be a stay on this. So we will reach out to him and put a hold on that as well. So.
All right, thank you. No more no more giving away, selling, dividing in any method, giving up any of the estate till we get through this. Mr. McClendon, I was going to say, I appreciate the fact that you do want to get an updated evaluation so he can give as much of his own input into what happens as possible. I think the statute does contemplate him being able to give whatever he's able to, whether it's through guardianship or not. Through power of attorney or through guardianship. I mean, he needs to be as involved as he can be, but of course, that is the limitation of what he can do and what he can't do. And then we may have to have the guardian step in or the power of attorney step in or whatever way we end up going, deciding if power of attorney is enough or do we need to go into the guardian conservatorship. So in the meantime, stay on everything except I do want to know the outcome of the DCF investigation. That will help. An updated, I'm ordering that be allowed to continue, this as well as the stay on disposition of assets, and an update on the mental, and I want I hate to say a real mental health evaluation because that may be unfairly disparaging to the person who prepared this little mini mental state examination. So if you'll get a chance to go back and talk to the person that prepared this, see what weight it has on anything and any other examiners he's had in the last year or two. And then I do want more time. I've looked at all of these documents that have been offered, but I want some more time to settle into the different documents that have been prepared, from the premarital agreement to the powers of attorney. I want to look at them in more detail and then consider the allegations in the petition for today and then come back for evidentiary hearing as we may probably need. In the meantime, does anyone have the guesstimate as to how far down the road I should set this? I don't want to wait till we're into January.
Right, I think if we set at the very least, maybe a status, and I'll work diligently, try to get something lined out today, and I can let parties know by email. But at like a 30-day status, just to make sure we keep this rolling and we can go
Yeah.
from there. Additionally, Your Honor, I would like to see an accounting under the power of attorney, at least starting today, if not previously required.
Is there one available already, Mr. Bauer? Do you know?
No, because just started. I do believe they consult with Rex on how it's cash flow, but Carla, can you in less than 30 days put together a summary of your the transactions for Mr. Thomas since October?
Yes, I can do that.
Very good. All right. Anything else that someone might want to address or have ordered? Okay. All right. Well, thank you again. Like I said, I know you've all donated time to be here and given time to be here. So, and prepared these reports, Ms. Shirley. Thank you, especially as you're here as a witness and not an attorney. So, Missy, if you're still with us, you are. Can you give us, Dave, about 30 days out? Does everyone agree that's about a good time to check and see how things are going? Or does someone else have another suggestion other than
No,
30 days?
I think that's a good suggestion.
Okay, Missy, about 30 days out to review this just for status.
Okay, let's see, May 7th did not work. What about May 12th in the morning? That's a Tuesday morning.
Can we set it for like 11?
I can't. I'm actually receiving the Wichita Bar Association Lifetime Award that day at 11:30.
Congratulations.
What about May 14th at 11?
That
14th, I've got an all-day mediation set.
Yeah, then keep trying, Missy.
May 15th at 1:30?
I'm
Work for
open.
me.
Open.
Mr. McClendon, you're available?
Yes, that works for me, Judge.
Mr. Garrison? Mr. Bauer?
Yes, that works.
Mr. Simons?
Yes, Your Honor, it's 1:30. Is that correct?
Say
Yes.
that, okay, Miss Shirley, how about
1:30 for
you?
status, yes.
Miss Shirley, any chance you're available?
I may be done in Wilson County then.
But
Uh,
that's,
I
if
don't
that's a
think
status
for
conference,
that.
it
That's
wouldn't
true,
be.
it is a status.
I don't think they need me for that one.
Okay,
And
you're right.
it's Mr. Simmons, Your Honor.
What am I saying, Simons?
Yeah.
It's Simmons.
I knew that. I don't know
Thank
why.
you. It's all right. I'll still answer, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. I did know that. All right, well, if there's nothing further, then who's gonna journalize this for me today?
I'll do it, Your Honor.
Mr. Simmons will journalize all of these orders and this continuance to May 15th at 1:30. Mr. Simmons, did I say it right?
You did. You did.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Shirley, for getting me on.
And Your
it.
Honor, in the interim, we'll have to figure out, just from the standpoint, we can handle the status conference, but whether we can stay in as counsel for Mr. Thomas, given the potential that Mr. Matthews has to testify.
Understood. All right, thank you. I'm sorry you're in that spot, but
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
you're welcome. Thank you all. And at this point, unless there's anything further, this hearing is adjourned for the day.
At this stage, the judge starts connecting the dots, and you can feel it. This isn't just about property anymore. It's about three core questions. Is Rex mentally capable? Is he being influenced? And are these legal documents actually reflecting his true intent? That's the battlefield now. Everything else fades. The judge isn't rushing anymore. He's dissecting. Because once you start questioning mental capacity, every decision becomes suspect. Every document becomes questionable. And that's exactly where this case is heading, uncertainty. And then comes the decision shift. The judge pauses everything. That's huge. Auctions? Stopped. Property transfers? Frozen. No more movement. This is a defensive ruling. Protect first, decide later. Why? Because if they're wrong, damage can't be undone. This is the court saying, we're not gambling with millions while facts are unclear. And that tells you everything. The judge isn't convinced either side has the full truth yet. So instead of choosing a winner, he locks the entire situation down. That's control, final phase, and this is where the direction becomes clear. The judge orders a proper mental evaluation, demands financial transparency, and sets the next hearing. Translation? This fight is far from over. In fact, it's just beginning. Because now everything hinges on one thing, Rex Thomas's mental state. If he's competent, the defense wins big. If not, everything could collapse. And that's the tension going forward. This case isn't about land anymore. It's about control, influence, and whether a man's voice is truly his own.